Hi, this is Corey with episode 2 of Immediatism. The essay I'll read for you today is Anarchy and Ecstasy. Now, this essay stands on its own and I enjoy it that way, but it was written as a response to a longer text with a similar name, which is available for your download, and I'll tell you how to get that. Immediatism Podcast makes available provocative essays on incendiary themes. Today's essay by Peter Lamborn Wilson is chosen from Spiritual Destinations of an Anarchist, and this is a book by Ardent Press, available online from littleblackcart.com. So what I'm going to do for you today is to put quite a few links into the show notes, which you can find at Immediatism.com. Now, you're going to have a link to the book at Ardent Press, the same book at littleblackcart.com for you to order online if you choose to. And you can access also through another link the original text that he was reviewing in this essay, and that's available at the Anarchist library for your download in any form. Okay, here we go. Anarchy and Ecstasy. 19th century rationalist, materialist, atheist anarchists were wont to assert that anarchy is not chaos. In recent years, a revaluation of the word chaos has been undertaken by a number of anarchist writers, the undersigned included, in the light of both mytho-history and science. Both fields now view chaos as more than merely violent disorder or entropy. Classical physics and mechanics, like classical political theory, including socialism and anarchism, were based on a masked ideology of work and the clockwork universe. A machine which went haywire or ran down was a bad machine. Chaos is bad in these classical paradigms. In the new paradigm, however, chaos can appear as good, synonymous with such affirmative-sounding concepts as Prigoghine's creative evolution. Meanwhile, and simultaneously, mytho-history has uncovered the positive image of chaos in certain cultural complexes which might be called pre-classical, or even prehistorical. Thus, the very new and the very old coincide to offer us what can now be seen as an anti-classical or anti-mechanistic view of chaos. For an anarchist to use a word like chaos in a positive sense no longer implies a sort of Nietzschean nihilism. Case in point, as Rod Sterling used to say, John Moore's pamphlet, Anarchy and Ecstasy, Visions of Halcyon Days. Moore appears not to have read any of the American chaos school of anarchism, such as Discordian Zen, Anarcho-Taoism, ontological anarchy, etc., nor does he refer to any works in chaos science. He seems to have made his own system, as Blake advises, in relative isolation, utilizing an idiosyncratic mix of readings which in some ways mirrors the American synthesis, as in his absorption of situationist pleasure politics, but in other ways diverges from it. Image of Paradise. Moore's brilliant analysis of the figure of chaos in Milton's Paradise Lost, for example, gives his work a distinctive British flavor, as does his evocation of Avalon, the apple garden, as an image of paradise worth regaining. But Moore certainly does read American books, including F. Perelman, K. Rexroth, Margot Adler, and Starhawk. His reliance on the latter pair of authors reveals an interest in neo-paganism, which will no doubt annoy certain anarchists despite his claims to oppose religion and God with spirituality and the goddess. I admit to some problems with this aspect of Moore's work and will return to the question again. Moore is at his best in the presentation of what I call poetic facts. For example, he investigates the etymology of the words wild and wilderness, connecting them with will. To be wild is to be self-willed, and bewilderment, to wander in a trackless forest, also amazement. From all this, he creates a portmanteau word, bewilderness, which he offers as a description or slogan of his project, his brand of anarchy. This is a ploy worthy of a poet. In games like this, Moore achieves his best writing and clearest thinking when he relies on solid facts, such as dictionaries contain, and his own imagination. He makes real donations to anarchist literature. In fact, I intend to appropriate the term bewilderness for my own purposes immediately. An order of New Age. In dealing directly with a text such as Milton or the Oxford English Dictionary, Moore shines. However, when he relies on secondary material, the theories of other theorists, his insights become less convincing, less luminous. The extensive quotations from Starhawk are permeated with an odor of New Age and the semantic vagueness of the whole feel-good school of neo-shamanism. Moore also makes excessive use of an author named Henry Bailey Stevens, The Recovery of Culture, 1949, whom I have not read but whose theories appear to me questionable, to put it mildly. Forgetting his implication that the earliest human society must have been, like chaos itself, without gender, Moore uses Starhawk to assert the primordiality of matriarchy. My own position on this vexing question is polemical. I oppose the idea of primordial matriarchy because I oppose the idea of any primordial archy. The rule of mom may in some ways be preferable to the rule of dad, or then again it may not. Still, I prefer to vote for nobody. Anarchy, no rule, rather than for the lesser of two evils. As for H.B. Stevens, he supposes that the original society was not only matriarchal, but exclusively agricultural, or rather to be precise, fruitarian-vegetarian, based on an economy of orchards and groves. Admittedly, this is not labor-intensive agriculture aimed at the production of surplus, rather an agriculture before the fact, before the agricultural revolution of the Neolithic. The fall from Stevens' paradise was precipitated by the Ice Age and its naturally imposed scarcity, which led to the evil innovations of hunting and then animal husbandry. The meat-eaters, referred to as barbarians, then overcame the fruitarian Southerners, thus introducing oppression into human society. In the Stevian ethos, Cain the agriculturalist was quite right to murder Abel the herdsman in defense of genuine paradisal economy and freedom from private property. This reversal of biblical values suggests the influence of Gnostic dualism, and indeed Stevens creates a dichotomy in which good represents tree/fruit/gathering, female, south, and evil becomes ice, blood, hunting, male, north. A fascinating thesis. But unfortunately for its supporters, no arboricultural tribes have survived to be studied by anthropologists, nor can any trace of such economies be uncovered by ethno-historical means. Structurally speaking, the earliest societies we can observe are hunter-gatherer societies which practice no agriculture, not even the cultivation of orchards. Moreover, the concept of non-authoritarian societies, as developed by Salins, Clastra, and others, depends for its illustrative material on hunter-gatherer economies. War, according to this school, does not develop out of hunting, but out of agricultural economy with its dialectic of scarcity and surplus. Hunter-gatherers possess non-hierarchic organization and are frequently more gender egalitarian than agricultural societies, etc., etc. A great deal of writing on these subjects has appeared since 1949. None of it should prevent Moore from admiring the poetic vividness of Stevens' theory, but some of it might lead him to doubt the factual basis of Stevens' claims. There may exist medical or political reasons for fruitarianism or veganism, but more appears to imply the existence of moral reasons, a stance strangely out of harmony with his promise to adopt an antinomian position. If he were to argue that such and such behavior is natural rather than moral, and therefore somehow a categorical imperative of sorts, might I not then reply, as many have done, that it is natural to obey authority, or at least to accept on authority that the behavior in question is natural? I see no way out of this dilemma, and thus I cannot help feeling that the inhabitant of the bewilderness would do well to avoid all concepts of natural rights and wrongs, including the naturalness of hunter-gatherer societies, and even of anarchy itself. The chaot is free to imagine nature as desire, or desire as nature. If the chaot desires such and such a behavior, then let it be proclaimed by the sovereign imagination that the behavior is natural for that chaot, not as an inalienable right, but as an act of will. And if anyone should ask what then prevents the outbreak of violent disorder and the spread of entropy, we may refer them to Moore's own analysis of chaos as a positive force of liberation, situated beyond the false and oppressive dichotomy of cosmic good and evil. Moore makes fun, and rightly I believe, of the usual pallid anarchist version of a future free society, in which everything human seems to have disappeared except the politics of consensus. In its stead, he offers a vision, centered on a mystery of wildness, wilderness, and chaos, based on a personal reading of myth and history, but also involving practical and experiential inspirations for action in the here and now. As such, as vision, I find Anarchy and Ecstasy an attractive work, in the sense C. Fourier used the word to mean lovable and sexy. There are pages, however, where Moore seems to take his vision for revelation, something beyond the personal, something absolute, and here I begin to tune out. But as pure rant, the book overcomes its own limitations, and for its delirious rhetoric, it deserves a proud place on the shelf labeled Chaos. That concludes today's essay. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Immediatism. For more information and links, check the show notes at Immediatism.com. Immediatism is a project of Little Black Cart, selling anarchist books and ephemera at littleblackcart.com. Access thousands of texts of interest to anarchists for free at the anarchistlibrary.org, an archive providing high-quality PDFs in various sizes and formats, as well as plain text sources and an EPUB version for mobile platforms. The Anarchist Library actively encourages DIY printing and distribution. Simply select the texts you want, print double-sided, fold, and staple. Your booklet is ready to go. Please rate my podcast and subscribe to encourage this project. If there are other Little Black Cart books you'd like in podcast form, let me know. Thanks for listening.